Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. My fellow Americans, the essence of this country of ours is that it's of the people, for the people, and by the people. The United States of America is a republic. It is a democracy. And as such, we, the people, gather each November for the election of our officials of government. We thank these people for their exercising their voting privileges. Today, January 7, 2019, the good citizens of this beautiful town of Belvedere celebrate the election process by the installation of their elected officials. May God grant them these honorable persons the wisdom, stamina, courage, and devotion to duty. For surely they carry the torch of freedom and stand guard over this community's well-being. Thank you, and thank you for coming. Thank all of you. I'm going to take out, we've got a meeting here, so I'm going to say good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
In accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, notice of this meeting was given by way of notice, filed with the Star Gazette, and in the Express Times, filed in the Municipal Clerk's Office, and posted in Belvedere Town Hall, 691 Water Street, Belvedere, New Jersey.
This agenda is subject to last-minute additions and or deletions by the Town Council. Do we have any additions at this time?
We have one resolution there, 2019-09,
Okay.
for,
This is for the tax lien payment.
yes, tax.
Okay. Okay, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bless this meeting by speaking to Almighty God. Lord God, we give you thanks for this town of Belvedere, which in our ways each of us was drawn to for our purposes. Now let us set aside our purposes for the town of Belvedere and remember the town of Belvedere's purposes for each and every one of its citizens as an example to the world of what a small town can be, filled with people who are excited about being in the place with one another, doing things that help one another. Help us to set aside our personal agendas so that we might come together in unity for the town and for its people, and for this state which it serves as a star in the northwest corner. Grant, O God, that what we do might be a sign and a symbol of what you would have the best of us do. Help us to be your people. Guide and strengthen and give wisdom to each and every member of council. Give care to every person who speaks before this body. Give love for town and for one another to each person who comes into this place seeking help, seeking to serve. Grant, O God, that what we do and what we say are guided by you. Amen.
Thank you, Pamela. All right, let's start with Charlie. Charlie back.
Did I say the third time's charm?
Switch around so you can see Charlie. Back to this. I, Charles McAtoyer, do solemnly swear
I, Charles McAtoyer, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments established
to the same and the governments established
in the United States and in this state
in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially and justly
I will impartially and justly
perform all the duties of councilperson
perform all the duties of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
So
ability.
help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Roth, Ms. Deb.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Roth, do solemnly swear
I, Joseph Roth, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will be with true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments established
to the same and to the governments established
in the United States and in this state,
in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially and justly
that I will impartially and justly
perform all the duties of councilperson
perform all the duties of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Mr. Smigrowski. I, Adam Smig. Adam Smigrowski, do solemnly swear
I, Adam Smigrowski, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments established
to the same and the governments
in
established
the United States and in this state,
in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially and justly
that I will impartially and justly
perform all the duties of councilperson
perform all the duties of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
As Teresa heads back to her seat, I'd like to ask everybody to please put in your prayers good luck and good health to one of our employees here that work at DPW. Young Mr. Wolfinger has headed off to Fort Leonard Wood Army out in Missouri, I believe.
Yes, first
Yesterday.
basic in Missouri and then to Oklahoma.
So Jonathan has arrived there, so let's wish him well. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilman McAtoor.
Here.
Councilwoman Myers.
Here.
Councilwoman Napolitani.
Here.
Councilman Roth.
Here.
Councilman Tucko.
Here.
Councilman Smigrowski.
Here.
I'll entertain a motion and a second to adopt Robert Rules of Orders.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Attached, you have our council calendar for council, which is, again, the same meetings as we are currently having. Also, I will entertain a motion for nominees for council president.
I'd like to nominate Laurel and Napolitani.
I'll second that.
Do we have any other nominees?
Councilman Roth.
Yes.
Councilman Tucker.
Yes.
Councilman Nazrati.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
I wasn't sure you had it.
told him I had this
Abstain or
person
not,
to
I
go first.
know. Thank you, Joe.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, I'm going to save my comments for the end. At this time, I'm going to move forward and do all the appointments. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to confirm the appointments. I'm going to go down our professionals, police department first. Our professional municipal attorney will be Kevin Benbrook. Registered municipal accountant will be Ms. Lachia. Bond counsel will be John Jakowitz. Town engineer will be Mazer Paul Sturbins. I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Motion. Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Police department,
Real quick, can I recuse myself from the engineer position?
yes, yeah, the recuses on engineer.
Thank you.
Police department, special police officer, one-year term, Dennis Riley, Tracy Marsh, crossing guards, Nancy Dietz, Paula Haggerty, Helena Vasili, Dorothy Steele, James Patrick, Danelle Allen, substitute Lester Huffman, Amanda Vasili, substitute, animal control officer, Robert Lagoria. I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm going to do all the commissions at once. Historic Preservation Advisory Commission. Class C member, term expires in 2021. Pat Butler. Shade Tree, regular member, term expires 2023. Michael Boss. Pool Commission, regular member, term expires 2021. Lisa Buell. Regular member expires 2021. Claudia Howard. Environmental Commission, regular member, term expires 2021, Elizabeth Merritt. Sewer Appeals Committee, chairperson, Adam Zarato. Member, one-year term, Laurel Napolitani. Shared Court Committee, member, Charlie McAtora. Member, one-year term, Laurel Napolitani. Can I have a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council member committees, police, Charlie McAtora, chairperson, Walt Tucker, vice chair. Finance, Kathy Myers, chairperson, co-chair, Laurel Napolitani. Department of Public Works, Adam Nazrati, chairperson. Kathy Myers, vice chairperson. Recreation Education, Walt Tucker, chairperson. Joe Roth, vice chair. Historic Land Use and Environmental, Laurel Napolitani, chairperson. Adam Nazrati, vice chair. Fire Rescue Public Utilities, Joe Roth, chairperson. And Charlie McAtora, vice chairperson. Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion. Second.
Questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolutions number R 2019-01 through R 2019-09. I'll entertain a motion.
Just 07, Mayor.
07. I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? I'll read them down real quick for the public knows. It's our official town newspaper. Our tax sales certificate, our tax collector to cancel balances under $10. Establish 2019 rate of interest for non-payment of taxes. Resolution designating depositories. Resolution authorizing sewer collection, canceling balances under $5. Resolution for the 2019 temporary budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, matter to address. We're going to start off, since we have some guests here tonight, I'm going to skip. All
council and the public. Right here in the month of December, we had a very good last couple of weeks. We initiated our in-rem tax foreclosures. And as you guys know, we already passed a resolution and received a check already for $100,000 for the railroad property. We subsequently had another redemption in full on, I forget that lot and block, but that's been paid off in full. It's a relatively small balance, about $3,000 or $4,000. That was the second redemption.
The house property.
The house property. And then just before, after our last meeting, but before we had a chance to meet tonight, we received communication from Gem Properties. They had 2 properties under foreclosure for relatively substantial balances. One in excess of $12,000, one in excess of $25,000. I did a straw poll with you guys to see whether you guys would be amenable to. We have the ability by statute to, again, offer small reductions. There was a consensus to offer them a 15% reduction. So what this resolution would do, and that's already been paid in full. The condition was that they pay the money before the end of the year, so it could be in your budget this year, which they did do. In fact, they paid the taxes in full, so they'll be getting some credits going forward. But the reduction, we would receive $10,921 for lot 6.01, and for lot 5, $22,003. So all those reductions were very modest. All the taxes are being paid, and most of the interest. So the reduction was just an interest component only. So that's what this resolution would do. And again, I think it's been a very nice result to get these collected, rather than, as part of the foreclosure process.
And I think Kathy, Councilwoman Myers has done a brilliant job with Kevin Benbrook. His communications back and forth and hard work to get this done was absolutely terrific. Again, we have the luxury of having Ms. Myers and her expertise in doing all of these tax searches, and which has saved us at no cost to the taxpayer,
Which actually saved it.
which saved us quite a bit of money. So that one realized roughly another additional $33,000 on December 31st. We have a motion, we have a second.
Motion.
You have one, right?
We have one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You want a roll call on that?
Yes,
I don't know, it's up to Teresa.
I can see you do that.
Money, yes.
Councilman McAvoy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Myers. Yes. Councilwoman Pelletani. Yes. Councilman Ross.
Yes.
Councilman Tucker.
Yes.
Councilman Zbigrawski.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes. Okay, we have some guests here tonight from the Belvedere Rescue Squad. Joe has been working very closely with them. Paul, you're welcome to hang out, or?
Probably going to go, but before I do that, I want to thank the council
Yes.
for the reappointment, and I look forward to working with everybody in the new year here. So thank you so much.
We look forward to it, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
Thank you. Be safe going back.
Yeah, thank you.
Watch the roads.
Sue, you?
With.
Whit? Go right ahead.
My name is Tracy Marsh. I'm here representing the Belvedere Ambulance Corps. I'm recently deposed president, but Sue is the current president, Sue Reeder, and Tyler Herb is the present captain. I'm here tonight to give the council some information on our new AVMS system. But before I do that, I'd like to make a few comments regarding last month's meeting. Since much of what happened last month was to justify why our donation was withheld, I need to address those comments to set what I feel set the record straight. I'll be as brief as possible. And they may not be in a logical order to you, but it's the best way I can put them together. These are all responses to points that were made last month. Regarding our autonomy, we're a completely autonomous organization. We're not owned, operated, or anything by any municipality. We own our own building, we own our own vehicles and equipment. We buy and pay for all judged incident that was in the past, but we have never asked for money for the vehicles. We only pay for them. None of our property is publicly owned. It's owned by the Belvedere Ambulance Corps Incorporated. Building, equipment, vehicles, everything. And again, we're a nonprofit, autonomous New Jersey corporation. Our call responses were called into question, and while it's relatively obvious we do miss calls, the number less than 50% was thrown out numerous times. That's grossly inaccurate. The data that we have doesn't agree with that, and the data that the communications center that we got doesn't agree with that. The accuracy of the data of the Warren County Communications Center is in question. I can give you a reference as late as 8:49 this morning. They dual dispatched us with somebody, which was not a proper act, so we questioned it, and they said we missed a call at 4:30 in the morning. We never got a call at 4:30 in the morning. So that's a missed call on our record that doesn't even exist. So their information is not as accurate as one would think it should be. Also, many times we get calls 2 and 3 and even occasionally 4 that overlap. There is nobody in this county that can answer 4 calls at one time with one ambulance. So each of those calls that has to go to mutual aid is counted as a missed call, even though it's not possible for us to answer. So that's all factors into this missed call percentage. Before I go any further, I need to make this statement. We hold the Goodwill Fire Department in very high regard. They're outstanding in their service to this community and to us, and they are deserving of the town and residents' staunch support. I want that clear. We have no beef, no issue with the Goodwill Fire Company. I just bring them up because they were brought up as a point to besmirch us. You can't compare us with the fire company. It's apples and oranges. The two provide completely different services in 2 completely different ways. Our call volume, our training, and our municipal backing are very different. Our vehicle, I'm not certain on this one, but I believe the vehicle insurance and much of the purchasing of vehicles, the town has some payment of in some form. They support them financially in these areas, not us. A statement was made that the fire company has a 100% response rate. That's wrong. I verified that today with the fire company to make sure I wasn't wrong. A comment was made that they come out to help us with motor vehicle accidents because we don't have the manpower. The standard operating procedure is to dispatch a fire service with every ambulance on a motor vehicle accident. That's why they respond, not because we don't have the manpower. We appreciate their help and their manpower when they are there, but that's not why they are there. And as a side note, it wasn't brought up, the ambulance corps, Belvedere Ambulance Corps has responded to thousands of fire calls in support of the fire department. That was never mentioned. Just some brief call information. In 2018, we received over 1,200 calls, the emergency squad, Belvedere Ambulance Corps. 1,200 calls. That was 3 1/3 calls every day of the year. The Goodwill Fire Company received approximately 175 calls, which is about 1 call less than every other day. You can't compare the two. And by the way, we'll still take applications to help us miss the calls we miss. Back to our donation issues. We don't feel that it's reasonable and it's not acceptable. Our normal budget versus our normal expenses comes out within 5 or 10% of the same number every year. By taking away $30,000, it gives us a $30,000 deficit on our annual budget. This really substantially changes or switches the town of Belvedere's budget shortfall to our budget. I don't think that's reasonable. Our annual budget is somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000. So if you use the $100,000 as a benchmark, these percentages will make sense. Municipal donations from all the municipalities are 60% of our income. Our fund drive, which is the sealed drive you folks get in the mail, is about 20% of our income for a year. And fundraisers and individual donations each amount to about 10%. So you can see by not having our donations, we're 30% under budget. There was a question about our cash reserve balance that was raised. this is a candid statement. You all seen our financial reports. You see what our balance is, how much money we have in our coffers. That money came from a substantial bequest over 10 or 12 years ago that we have held as a nest egg. If you look at all of the rest of the numbers, basically that bequest is what's in our accounts. The money that's coming in is going out. We're not sitting on big piles of money. And along with that, we need a new ambulance. And the state of New Jersey has made it wonderful for us that our ambulance price went from $160,000 from the last one we bought to somewhere between $225,000 and $250,000. And we're not coming to you to ask for money for that. We're paying for that. We also need startup money for our new venture, the Belvedere Emergency Medical Services. So if you take the cost of that, and the cost of the new ambulance, and a year's worth of expenses, we are in the red. We don't have enough money to run next year, if all that stuff has to be done. Looks like we got a lot of money now, and next year, this time, we will be broke. So, and we have still not received any notification that we're not getting our money. The only way we found out about it was someone come to us on the street and told us, he said, go look at YouTube. I don't really think that's proper. If you're not going to give us our money, then you need to tell us. When we start up the VEMS, this will cause us to bring up the possibility that we'd have to switch from soft billing to a hard billing system just to cover the costs and stay afloat. The donation was assured by the council as recently as last November. A direct question and a direct answer. I don't know what happened in 6 weeks. Something changed about that. Based on these statements, I will say the following. Our donation was withheld based on stated lack of information, which was in fact reported by Mr. Roth. The mayor indicated that the liaison did not report back to the council, which he in fact did. It's on the videotape. The decision to hold our donation seems to have been based on lack of or incorrect information. Just one thing to clear up, although it's probably past. Councilman McAtora last month stated that we needed the donation in order to seed fund VEMS. That's not what it's for. We need that money for our normal, annual, every year, for 75 years operating budget. The money to seed the VEMS is coming out of our request from a person. We would like to thank Mr. Roth and Mr. McAtora for their support and interest in our cause. We know how hard it is to be a go-between and answer both sides. We'd like to know what the council expects of us. It's very hard to do what we do, deal with the stresses and emotions, and try to keep the morale and a positive attitude up. There's now a feeling that the town doesn't appreciate or respect what we do. We're not here to be praised. We're not looking for a pat on the back or any glory. But such a slap in the face is insulting and embarrassing to the ambulance store. It almost seemed that we were not needed and looking to be replaced. That's pretty much my statement as to what I'm addressing from last month. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask me about that?
Do you have a second part of what you're going to be presenting tonight?
The VEMS section is more brief.
Does anyone want to comment to Mr. Witt prior to me?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion, but it's the proper time. Just for discussion purposes.
Does it have to do with money?
That's the exact, yeah, that's what.
We're going to listen to the second part of his presentation as well. Because I also have on here 2019 goals and objectives. You and Mr. Roth have already combined it.
Well, I feel like we got two different issues going.
Well, let me, my recollection of what happened in December, we had our CFO here. The donation for 2018 was canceled. And that money was returned to fund balance. Nobody can make a motion here tonight to reinstate that. That's gone. So you have to get through your budget process here. You just established a temporary budget tonight. I'm not saying you can't add all or any portion of that to whatever you do for 19, but all I'm saying is you can't do it tonight by motion, because we don't have the budget mechanism set up yet, I don't believe. We can check with our CFO between now and next meeting to see how quick we can do that, Charlie, but I don't think we can do it yet. Because we just set up, you know, your temporary budget's only a very small percentage of every line item, and I don't know if there's any line item yet because we canceled that, so we want to do the motion until we know that, okay? Just so you guys know.
And then as we do the budget for 19,
Correct.
we can contemplate.
Yes, you can.
Any
You
prior.
might be able to do it, again, as part of the temporary budget. I'm not saying necessarily have to wait till April to when we're in the final
Right.
budget, but I just want to make sure you check with our CFO to make sure there's some line item that you can apply to.
I'll see her on Wednesday.
Just so you guys know.
Thanks. Does anybody else have anything for Tracy Marchand? Okay, well, I obviously do. Okay. And although some of what you said may be factual, here's my issue and here's my question to you. It's one very, very simple question. Okay? This is an issue that's been addressed since 2015. Okay? Beginning in 2015, this issue was addressed with coverage when there was loss of life and we had people coming to the council complaining to council about not being able to get dispatched. This is when this started, okay? We were assured again in 2016 that you would be bringing information back to us on what you were doing. And at that time, Mr. Nunes came and said that you were running a membership campaign to bring in new squad members. We said, all right, fine. We existed a little bit of more time. We went through 2016, waiting for a response and information coming back. We then again were expecting something in January of 2017, some type of response when we had concerns about the number of, and I'm not going to go into the percentage part of it, because you made some things very clear here, which I really appreciate as far as the response time. But I'll do my homework on that based on what you said. But again, we went through all through 2017 the same way, waiting and waiting and waiting what you guys were going to do, what was the intent. We are again assured again by Mr. Roth that in 2018 you were going to come in here at the beginning of the year and give to us some type of presentation. At that time, I believe it was Mr. Rudd that came in and spoke. And we heard about all of these different things that were going to be done, okay? We also went through the majority of 2018, again, waiting and waiting and waiting what the intent was. We adamantly, if you go back and watch the tape, we were told here during the September meeting, early meeting, that on September 19th of 2018, there was going to be a Come to God meeting at the Belvedere Rescue Squad, and you guys were going to figure all of this out and come and give us information as to what you needed as far as help, money, donation. What? Correct me if I'm not correct. Is that correct? Okay. Here we are in January of 2019, and you're going to sit here and claim to me we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Well, how many years and how long is this town council supposed to wait to get the information that you just brought us tonight? You know, you brought us some great, valuable information. I can't argue that. I can't dispute that between getting overlap calls or whatever have you. I don't have the expertise that you guys have. But why are we getting it now? And we couldn't get it in 16, we couldn't get it in 17, we couldn't get it in 18. Yes, Ms. Hawk?
Can I address that?
Yes.
You have liaisons to council. How many members have they been to meetings, have ours, have they been to?
Right, right.
If they're not bringing the information back to you, that's your problem, not our problem.
No, it's
We
our
have
problem. It's
It's
our
your problem.
our problem, okay?
No,
Because
it's
as you
your
guys
problem.
are the caretakers to the funds of the rescue
No.
squad and the bequest funds and the money that these taxpayers, let me finish, and the taxpayers that you raise 60% from the town people in additional taxes for fundraisers, okay? We on top of that give them $30,000 a year, okay, in tax dollars that were already paid by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
So, listen, I'm not gonna get into a debate. All I'm saying
You're wrong.
is as we go along here, okay, we are caretakers of the tax dollar also. And if we're giving a donation for the best service possible or what we're expecting or what the taxpayer is expecting, you know, I think we should make that decision based on the performance. That's all I'm saying. Now, there's 6 other members here that can disagree with me
Then let me
100%.
suggest one thing. You go around, if you're gonna do that with one organization, such as the ambulance corps, you better go around and you better do it to every single one of your employees that work for this town, because technically we're employees. So you need to do that. You need to address that and make sure, are they doing their job?
That is correct.
It's not being
That
done.
is
Why is
correct.
the ambulance corps, Joe, this is my question,
Yeah.
and you and I have talked about this. Why, in November, the money is there, and then all of a sudden, the money is gone? And you're basing it on misinformation, and whether we tell you what's going on or not,
Right.
that shouldn't have any bearing as to why the ambulance corps' funding got revoked. That is absolutely, as a citizen of this town, and not an ambulance corps member, that is completely unacceptable, because you didn't take any other donations from any other people. For some reason, there's a different agenda that this council has against this ambulance corps, and I felt this way for a very long time, and I would like you guys to tell me what it is.
I'd like to interject here because
Well, I'd like to answer a question. I'd like to answer your question directly.
I
I don't know what the other council members' opinions are, okay? But I personally am not happy with the ambulance corps not coming back to us and representing yourself when you say you're going to. Irregardless
We
of what,
talked to them.
you know,
now we
you
have,
talked to Joe Roth.
that's
I
where
talked to
that's
Joe,
where
we've
Right.
had numerous meetings with
Right.
these men.
Yes.
excuse me, that's where
Go
I
ahead.
think that Mr. Roth and I have both been involved in this, and is now the chairman and assistant, if you will, whatever, vice chair. In 2018, if you look back at the videos, if you want to go to the records, we did report back to the council, and we reported that significant strides were made for the Belvedere.
Emergency medical services.
Thank you. But anyway, and it was, you know, this is going back as early as March of the year. I mean, significant progress was made in 2018. We did come back and report that. We were very pleased. Obviously, you had a hiccup. We know about that. We reported that here. You're absolutely right. November, Councilman Roth and I attended your meeting. $30,000 was encumbered, because I remember telling you, I looked at the balance sheet before that. The money was still sitting there. As a council, we did not know until, I think it was our meeting in December 17th, our last meeting of the year, that $30,000 was taken away. So we found out literally within a day or two before the meeting when we got our packets that the money was swept. We did not know.
And
So-
Charlie, if I elaborate on that, the one thing I was going to say, that the resolution, once you get to November 1 of any fiscal year for municipality, it's very common that your CFO does a series of resolutions to, everything we do, every payment, everything has to come out of a very specific line item in the budget. So what happens is when you get to November 1, you might look at, legal, and there might be a surplus there. Actually, I think we were pretty good with legal, it's just by way of an example. So you can transfer excess you think you're going to have there to a line item where you're going to have a deficit. And that's very common in every municipality. What happened here, in part, and where CFO was at that last December meeting to kind of explain, there were deficits elsewhere in the municipality's budget, and your $30,000 encumbered funds were kind of sitting there as the low-hanging fruit, if you will. And that, so again, in part, this was a financial recommendation of the CFO to move those funds. And then with the understanding that, again, whatever you guys work out with the council, they can be restored next year. But if we didn't do it when we did it in December, there was the possibility we would have to do what's called emergency resolutions, which can be financially detrimental to the municipality. So in terms of the timing, I don't think, just even the council, as Charlie said, I think it was a little bit of a surprise maybe to see it on that December agenda, but I don't think there was anything nefarious about it. It was kind of the way your budget broke for this year, and it was kind of a CFO recommendation. So just so you guys are aware of that.
I fully understand what you're saying.
I'm just trying to give an
But
explanation.
the issue is, our voucher was in June or July.
And I'm just telling you what happened.
Well, but I'm telling you, we had requested payment 4 or 5 months earlier. And
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I just say that because it was.
I don't know what happened either, but it was held.
Just to paint a little bit of a picture, I know Councilman Roth and I were totally much surprised. We had always believed that we were going to get the money, we never thought it was going to happen. So when in fact we did learn in that December 17th meeting that we're not getting it, that's why it was put on the agenda for the very next meeting. And I was under the impression that hopefully tonight we would be able to resolve it. Obviously, listening to our council, we have to check with the CFO to see if the money's there. But I think that as soon as that is done, I know that Councilman Roth and I, support you 100%. We'll do whatever we can to make sure you get that money.
And also, a couple of comments. You made a comment about coming to the meetings. I did request that you come to the November meeting, and you deferred, saying you weren't ready to go public on some of the issues, which I did tell the council.
We were in the meeting, as
I know.
Councilman Aguilar commented, we were in the middle of another issue that had
That's
to.
exactly right. But, and I told the council, and the council did understand that. And with no disrespect to the mayor, but I do disagree in holding back funds based on performance. You can only do that if you tell the unit well in advance that funds are going to be based on performance. And we never did that. Clearly, you got your money every year, and you had every right to expect that it wasn't just a donation, it was a precedent. And it should have been, and that's wrong. We need to correct that going forward. We need to correct it 2 ways, not only to reconcile your specific situation, but donations moving forward, we have to do in a different way. So that all donations going out are measured either quarterly or monthly, however we want to do it, but it's dispersed equally over a period of time, so no one unit is disadvantaged in a gotcha situation in the fourth quarter, like you apparently was this time. And that's something else we have to talk about.
And I will be discussing that with the auditor and the CFO in the coming weeks.
Appreciate it. I still am at a loss as to why our voucher lay for multiple months with no attention.
I'm still waiting for an answer to my question, what the council's agenda is with the squad. You said you'd answered it, Joe.
Oh, I did. My agenda is really simple. Do what you're doing tonight. Bring us this factual information. And I know you're saying that you've had council members come to your meeting and they've had all this information. We have gotten some of that information in part, but we have not gotten the explanation and the information that we're seeking, especially if with the special service.
I think if that was the point, if you didn't have the right information, no action should be taken against it. That's my feeling.
Would you like to go on to your second part?
If you like.
Yeah, please hold. That's
This is,
I just had a quick question. Mr. Roth, Ms. McElroy, I want to say thank you for supporting us. But how come we're housed in Belvedere? How come this is the only town we're fighting with?
Only town of what?
Can you say it?
we're arguing with Belvedere.
Why is Belvedere the only town where we have to fight with? We are housed in Belvedere, and here we are.
I don't look
No other towns have
I
fought
don't
with
look at it as a fight as much as I do look at it as a discussion, and a discussion to obtain information.
Discussion, a $30,000 discussion? Oh, come on.
Yeah, a $30,000 discussion.
I'm sorry,
I pay
as a
tax-
citizen who
listen,
gets it.
Listen, I pay
You-
taxes just like anybody else does.
No, but Joe, you can't say, do something for us, but we're not going to pay you to do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I know I'm out of order.
right. All right, well, go ahead.
All right, as far as the payment side, as again, I just want to make this is kind of a basic overview and open to a lot of questions, but it's going to give you some information straight from the horse's mouth, if you will. I know it's been bannered all over. The actual name of the newly formed corporation, which is completely separate from the Belvedere Ambulance Corps, is Belvedere Emergency Medical Services Incorporated. That's the legal name. It was incorporated on 9/26/18, registered with the state of New Jersey.
Say that again, please, what?
Date?
No, the name.
Oh, Belvedere Emergency Medical Services Incorporated.
Thank you.
It's a nonprofit corporation that is formed in support of the Belvedere Ambulance Corps and operates at their will. There are 3 administrators. They're volunteer and unpaid, and they have put in countless hours of work to get this far to the point they're at now. They are considered treasurers of the organization. Each one's assigned a title, a president,
Trustees,
or trustees.
not treasurers.
Trustees, I'm sorry. Each one is a trustee. There's a president, a secretary, and a
The
treasurer.
president, secretary, and treasurer.
They are all unpaid and will be unpaid in these capacities. The status right now, just to know what has happened. They have set up their accounting, their bank account, the billing company, because it's impossible for someone like us to try to do our own billing. We need a service for it, because in medical billing, or read it, if any of you are familiar with it, it's a nightmare. We also have a payroll company, because it's basically the same thing, trying to keep track of payroll laws and percentages and stuff, it's just too difficult. That's all those connections have been made, and we just have to flip a switch, they're ready to go. The established entity generated a constitution, generated bylaws, generated standard operating procedures. These are all required by the state of New Jersey to be a licensed entity. It's not like we're doing it just to have a bunch of rules. They have to go in with the application packet. There's a contract between Belvedere Ambulance Corps and Belvedere EMS that had to be worked out and all the legalities set out. The officers have been installed, which again is required by the state of New Jersey. You have to be installed and titled before the paperwork can go in. They require that we have office space, locked, separate office space for this entity, which has to be constructed. That is being done. We have to prepare 2 of our 3 ambulances for state licensure, get the required equipment and supplies on there before we're allowed to register them as state licensed ambulances. We also had to establish an electronic charting system for tracking calls, patient information, and so forth. That is also required by the state of New Jersey. It takes some time. As far as the financial end of it, the startup money, as you know, is coming from the Belvedere Ambulance Corps, and it will be paid back in the form of a loan according to the terms of the contract that the 2 entities have agreed to. As far as operations, the intent of this is to be a soft billing company. The patient's insurance company will be billed as long as the information is available. They'll be directly billed. As you know, many times when an ambulance is called, we can't get insurance information from our customer. Then they will get a bill which they are to forward to their insurance company. That's the way it will play out. And I'm sure we'll start getting phone calls. Why did I get this bill? And we'll have to explain that. But it is not our intention to force them to pay, hard bill them, or send them to collections. If we're soft billing, the only money we're going to get is from insurance companies, not the residents. All of the billed monies will be deposited to Belvedere Emergency Medical Services. It does not come to the volunteer side of the organization. What will happen, at selected intervals within our contract, any excess funds will be donated back to the ambulance corps from the emergency medical services side, leaving them an operating account that they have money to do what they need to do, payroll, so forth. The ambulances that the Belvedere Emergency Medical Services are going to be used will be leased to them from Belvedere Ambulance Corps. And we will also lease them office space as required. They are responsible, BEMS is responsible for all their operating expenses, including payroll, supplies, office, and software costs, and more. The coverage, projected coverage, which is pretty much accurate, as Monday to Friday in 12-hour shifts for the paid side. That is, the time's not been determined. It could be 6 to 6, 7 to 7, something like that. We're still trying to get the best numbers so we know when to use it the most efficiently. Other coverage will be by volunteers. And volunteers can run alongside the paid squad if there's, with certain qualifications, if the paid rig is out, volunteers can still grab an ambulance and go out as well. So now when we're to the point with 1 or 2 or more calls, we have a much better chance of getting rigs out to answer those calls. And as a side note, I want to add that this year we made a lot of changes internally as far as the ambulance corps goes, and we did replace a number of officers with, I don't want to use the word younger, but just from a fresh perspective, so that the members can get a feeling, and it just will obviously anything can go wrong, but, that's our projected date. All of our required documents are ready to go to the state, with the exception of the SOPs. The attorney had a couple of questions on those. Should be done any day, and it will immediately go into the state. That's the beginning of our licensure process. Once we get all those documents and the application sent in, then we have to wait for the state of New Jersey. Okay? Once the state application is done and the inspections are done, because they physically come out and inspect the ambulances, they inspect the facility, they inspect your communications, they inspect your software and internet facilities to do all the work. And if they approve all that, then we're allowed to finish the ambulances, including we have to be re-lettered by state regulation. Start the hiring process, equip EMTs with their uniforms and equipment they need, and there's required by the state. And train and put this new staff in service. That's the basic overall plan. I'm sure there's a lot of gaps in there that you may have questions about. We do have a plan B. We are in discussions with St. Louis that if for some reason we run into a snag, if they would be willing to help us out in some manner. They have been amenable to that, and we actually have another meeting set up with them very soon. And if for some reason we do get snagged, hopefully they will step in and help us out. They've assured us that it's not their idea to come in here and take over or do bad things. They just want to help. So as far as I know, at that point, that's a good thing. And for us, by us doing that, they would contract with us, not the town of Belvedere. And you guys wouldn't have to deal with all that paperwork. That would be us. So, and again, the object of that is to keep things rolling until we can iron out any wrinkles that we have. That's our projection. Those are my gripes. Those are my statements. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
I'm going to try to do this a little bit more civilly without me getting excited, so I apologize for that. Councilman Tuckett, do you have any questions for Mr. Witt? No questions. Mr. Roth?
Yes, I do. Soft billing, so you'll always go to the patient first,
Well, if we have a patient, we're trying to get the insurance information
and
for
if they
that.
have it, you'll go to the insurance company.
Right, we put it back in and put our charts in the electronic system. It goes straight to the billing company, and we're basically done. They bill the patient, they get the money, they forward the money to us.
And if you're dealing with an insurance company, and Medicare, for example, may not pay the entire bill, does the state require that you make an attempt?
Not to my knowledge.
No, it's just whatever the insurance company's willing to pay.
But there is something with that.
Mhm.
I think we had a gentleman's type agreement that was contingent on the donation money being given to cover the costs that we're gonna be losing on people that we can't say, insurance companies. We bill $100, we get paid $50, okay? If we get paid $50, that's a soft bill, we take it, we're losing $50. So that donation is to help compensate for that loss that we have.
Yeah, but that would never be doable, because one of the things, since you mentioned that, I'll just be very clear about this, and again, you guys have to file paperwork with our auditor every year for the donation we give you, and under no circumstances.
It wouldn't go through the BEMS.
Well, you
It
just
would go
said
to
that.
augment the Belvedere ambulance, the donation goes to the Belvedere Ambulance Corps. But the Belvedere Ambulance Corps is gonna have to help support
The Belvedere
by
Ambulance-
loan.
The Belvedere Ambulance Corps cannot be involved in this all billing, that's why you're setting up separate entities.
I understand
And
that.
all I'm saying is,
I understand.
no part of any Belvedere tax dollars can be used to offset directly or indirectly any costs of the nonprofit you're saying.
You're missing the point you should
So
say.
that's all I'm saying.
Well, her point was a little confusing, I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can clear it up.
That's why he's.
It's all good.
When all this started, the very, very first round we had, the first thing we had to do was come before each municipality, which we did, every one, and said, this is what we're proposing to do, this is what we will need. We will need your assurance that our funding will not be cut, at least until we get up and running. Because there's a lot of money going out, there's a potential for our budgets to be affected. We need to know that once we start billing, our donations are going to keep coming. Every municipality said, yes, we will do that.
Including Belvedere.
Including Belvedere.
That is correct.
Yep, and here we are.
That is
That's-
Well, if it's correct, we lost our donation.
Well, you wanna know something? If you would've came in 2018 to give us the information, and this is the point, I think, without getting excited, that everybody's missing. We were dying and waiting how this entity was gonna operate, and how it was gonna come down, because we did have I at least had legal questions and concerns with taxpayers' money going to a non-for-profit or the softball. I agree with you 1,000%. We agreed, Charlie brought it to us 6, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, even Joe, that the squad needs the $30,000 to continue. You know, that they were using that for, whether it was, what did you say, supplies, whatever it may be. We understood that. But as the new entity evolved, the concerns were legal questions. Could we transfer money from? And listen, I've supported you guys all along, but the problem is there were questions that were unanswered, that were not clear as to what we could do and what we could not do legally.
May I respond to that?
Yeah, sure.
That's what a liaison is for. They bring information to you, and they bring information to us. Apparently, they were never given that question to ask because it was never asked.
Oh.
Period.
No, it wasn't, because
You know,
that's a 2019 issue. The formation of the new entity isn't in 2019. So any funding back and forth is irrelevant.
I'm talking about what happened in 2000.
Well, that's right.
We should have been funded, but the
we can't
mayor was
pull in
not
a
happy with
19
the
issue
information
and
he didn't
we're
get,
not-
because he didn't ask the question. You know,
That's not true. Don't sit there and put words in my mouth. Don't tell me whether I asked a question.
you just agreed with me.
Okay? I agreed with the fact that we agreed with giving $30,000 for the volunteer squad.
No, you're going
Okay.
too far back.
Well, watch the videos. That's why we do them. Okay?
It's-
That simple. But we're
It's
not
not
here,
relevant to the
we're not
conversation.
getting for tit and tat because we're not gonna solve the problem. But go ahead, Joe. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do. I'm still on the soft billing issue. I was under the impression in talking with St. Louis, which I did, as well as with some of the folks of your initial organization, that the state required that you made an attempt to collect what the insurance.
I think
company
that's
did.
true. I think it's true, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, and all I'm saying to you is just look into that and verify it, because if you do have to, that's a whole communication piece that's going to be
Joe,
very
we're still
sensitive.
trying to get some information back from people that have it.
Mhm.
So some of it we don't have back yet,
Yes.
if you're understanding what
I
what I'm saying. So,
yes,
that we're trying to investigate it on our own, but you know what, I gotta be honest with you, we all work jobs, it's hard.
Who are you dealing with you talking with at St. Louis?
Was the,
Rodney and Brad?
Yeah, sure. He could give you some good information.
Yeah, we met up with Rodney Thursday night, and I have to call him. I gotta get everybody's schedule, because we're supposed to have another meeting.
And I
Decent
agree with
people.
you. He would be very amenable to
Yeah,
coordinate some activities
yep,
as necessary to help you through the phasing.
Yes, he
That would
will.
work very well, because they would like to get a bigger total open to the county, and it works to his advantage.
where?
One more question.
I'm not stupid.
When are you prepared to start to hire for the
As-
position?
I don't have a date, because again, now we're back into states.
So you still have to wait for somebody from the state to come back and say,
Yeah, we
such
can't,
and so is approved?
Yeah.
we can't hire until we have our application approved.
Mhm.
And that could take 3 or 4 weeks, it could take 2 months, we don't know.
It's the state of New Jersey.
That's on the list of things that are.
And that's another reason we looked at other options, because we don't know how long it's gonna take with the state.
Right.
So, instead of sitting back and waiting, we have taken the steps forward to talk to who we need to talk to.
I thought I had it on.
That's it. One other comment, as you start, as we look at your monthly reports and how we report activities, I think we take a look at missed calls, that's optically a problem. I think we need to dive deeper down into those.
something that the squad can do to define that a little bit better? That, you know, 50%?
Missed calls?
I have the, pretty much have the stats here.
Because, just to clarify, there's a huge difference from what, at least I was feeling
You got the numbers?
at 50%, and what you're explaining now about overlaps and reasons why. There was so potentially, use it simple, you get 1,000 calls, there's overlaps, there's everything else in there. You can't answer all the calls, you're at 50%. But now, if you have reasons why you're not because of overlap, you're already out, is there any way that we can get a truer number?
Not to cut you off, I had your answer.
Good.
I anticipated this, so I had last year's captain run some fast numbers for me. And factoring in all those conditions as mathematically as we could, we come up with a missed call rate within the town of Belvedere between 28 and 32%. It's a great thing. So, which is a far cry from missing.
28%, you said?
28 to 32. We came up factoring a couple different ways. So, but that's a far cry from 49.
I would say so.
You know, so, but that's, I anticipated that question, so I tried to have as accurate an answer as possible.
And the tracking you'll be able to do by evening, that the squad, the volunteer squad is going to handle evenings and...
We don't have it broke out that way.
But when you move forward, you'll be able to break it out.
We should be able to. The software does that, I believe.
That's all for me. So.
Kathy?
I just recall, there was some communication because we run through several liaisons over the time of this process. This has been very valuable. This is information we've been looking for in terms of a framework. Can you use taxpayer money to run a business? None of this information was available to us until tonight. And those are things that we financially are responsible for, which I deal with the CFO and the information that we were waiting for. Over the course of the time, we looked at Phillipsburg, we looked at St. Luke's, we looked at Atlantic. So there were other potentials in the works. So this is, now that we've come to this decision, or at least an identifier, it's very helpful. But there were a lot of questions, and I think liaisons only carry so much information. I think those things that are very important, it's important for whatever entity to come and express their concerns to council.
Understood.
Okay.
Councilwoman?
Yes, while you say Belvedere is where you were housed and you're the only town you're arguing with, who else beyond White Township are you approaching and working with?
Our three municipalities that we serve by agreement are Belvedere, White Township, Harmony Township. The county gives us a small stipend to cover their properties in Belvedere and so forth. So basically, it's three municipalities in the county.
So Harmony and White you're on board with?
So
Okay, thank you.
They were they've never questioned anything, the checks just arrived.
Thank you.
I keep hearing two different things. We got two separate arguments, and it seems like everybody keeps trying to intermingle them, and they shouldn't happen that way. The Belvedere Emergency Medical Services is a separate entity. I just want to go back to the ambulance corps. Statistics can be skewed either way. I don't care if you say 50%, 20%, it doesn't matter, in my opinion. The point being, it's an ambulance corps that still needs money. If we were to go out to another entity, St. Luke's, Atlantic Health, and had them, the question would be, would we still be giving you the money? I would say we would be. So that, I don't want to commingle the two. Our $30,000 donation should not be hinged on the Belvedere Emergency Medical Services and how you proceed with that. Because if it wasn't for you, we'd have another entity coming in here to hopefully do us Monday through Friday. That was our original goal. The fact that, first of all, I think you guys have made outstanding strides in 2018. You really need to be commended for where you're at. We did bring that back. As far as the exact detail, as far as the specifics about officers, we did not bring any of that back. Both Councilman Roth and I were the impression this is still, in my opinion, a little bit premature as far as, I think you were forced into being here tonight to defend your position. I just want to bring up one, when you talk about soft building versus hard building, and St. Luke's, and, we've met with Rodney also, so we're very familiar with how they bill. And that was, me personally, a big stumbling block. I'm not very pleased, and I don't think the town of Belvedere, the residents would be pleased on how St. Luke's does hard billing. I'm going to give you a quick example, and I'm not going to name the entities, but this happened in White Township, literally about 4 months ago. Our local resident went to a local medical facility in White Township. They deemed that that person needed to be transported to the hospital. They called their entity, not Belvedere Ambulance Corps. The person was then billed $1,000. The insurance company paid $700 for that call. The person has since received a $300 bill. And it's not going to be like it's a nice type of bill. It's a $300 bill. If you don't pay it, to answer your question, there's 3 bills that go out. After the 3rd bill, it's going to collections. So, with that being said, do we want to do that to our residents in Belvedere? No. Do we want to take every stride and do everything we can to support you in your endeavor and the Belvedere Emergency Medical Services so that doesn't happen to our residents, not only Wake Township and Harmony? I think we need to. So, I really hate to get into numbers and specifics because I've looked into them before. In 2017, I actually did an Oprah request from the 911 services, and I literally had a stack of papers, and it's like, my God, I can't go through all that. Not to mention what they had to go through to redact everything. So it's misleading when we talk about statistics. I think it's more important that we just try to do the best we can. And I think you guys have been doing, again, the last year has been, in my opinion, outstanding. And Councilman Roth has been doing an outstanding job with you guys being there. So, again, I can go on, but I think you're doing a great job. I commend you for it, and I hope you continue. Much success.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks, Joe.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I think it's probably, there should be some maybe presentation or a presence, maybe a couple times a year, for us, because, I agree with, pretty much everything that went around. We didn't have a lot of the information. There was nothing personal that, as far as I'm aware of, that kept you guys from getting the funds, and like you've heard already, until our last meeting, did we not know you weren't getting this wasn't happening. And unfortunately, I guess the way the budget played out, like Council mentioned, you were the low apple. Hopefully this never happens again, and you guys continue to get the support, and everything works out with the privatized section. So, thank you very much.
One question.
Yes.
Who authorized the money to be transferred?
The CFO.
No.
There's a resolution.
The entire council
The entire council
voted on that.
voted on it and.
It was part of a larger resolution. It was one line item in a larger resolution.
You have to go back and watch the
Nobody
video on that.
knew about it before. You know what, Charlie? The tapes are great, but they're really hard to hear sometimes.
Oh, sorry.
It's not your fault, but I have a hard
Listen, I
time.
don't want to drag this on forever, I'm a big boy, I'll take the blame for the blunt of it, that's why I sit up here. So, there's no question that, the end game is the blame stops here. In reference to Charlie's comment about that we shouldn't be intermingling the two, that's his opinion and probably some on council and others. And I respect that. They do think it's 2 separate situations. But sometimes when I don't fully have answers and it's just kind of lingering out there that taxpayers' money and the donation and or the letter campaign that you collect, when it comes back to us in part that money is going to be used to subsidize a paid entity.
Who brought that back to you?
And that, what's that?
Who brought that information back
I told you exactly was, but it was discussed here at council that the $30,000 was going to be given to the squad, and that the squad, not that the squad, I'm not gonna say that the squad was taking that $30,000 and giving it to the paid entity, okay? What came back to us was the Belvedere Volunteer Rescue Squad was going to loan this new entity money for a startup. Is that true?
And that's true.
Okay, so that is true.
There's nothing wrong with
So
that.
part of the discussion that pursued after that was, why are we giving funds to the Belvedere Volunteer Rescue Squad if they're going to turn around and use it towards a startup company?
No.
Okay?
You said the word.
Hence, okay, hence, again, Sue, hence, again, not to drag this on.
I know,
This is why I appreciate so much, and as dropping cookies off a few weeks ago, I found out things that I had no clue about, you know, and
See,
we
the whole
found
thing
out
is that
so much
nobody knew
more,
what
so
you
much
guys
more
want.
tonight, you know.
If you don't ask us the questions, we can't give the answers.
Well, all I can say is I'm extremely pleased with how things have been cleared up tonight and the things that we understand. Still lies the question legally,
Well,
you know, the soft cost, you know.
I mean, I'm sure it's doable, because you guys should be able to very simply, pretty easily maintain a Chinese firewall. But I'm just cautioning you, again, any questions like this are really, they're less
It's a law.
legal than auditing, because again, every year you guys are supposed to kind of roughly account. And all I'm suggesting is it's going to be best for you guys and best for the town that the $30,000, or whatever the donation ends up being in 2019, that you try to clearly allocate that to resources and supplies and things that stay with volunteers, and then use other donations you collect to subsidize, if you will, the term you used, the other things. It's definitely doable. I'm not throwing any cold water on it. I'm just telling you. And again, in fairness to the mayor, that was really, it was just part of the discussion. It was just part of the fog that you guys are now clearing up. Hey, because we weren't really sure where in the process you were. Now we are tonight. We understand that you just got informed and you're still getting final approvals. So obviously, as Joe said, some of these concerns aren't even there yet because the entity doesn't exist. So there's no worry about commingling or anything like that. So, you know, there's all issues that can be addressed.
So just to clear up and recap, real quick, thank you very much for coming, I appreciate it. Thank you for the more realistic number of 28%, 32%, I do appreciate that. So as I understand it, the $30,000 that the town of Belvedere, you're pretty much telling us is still just gonna go to the Belvedere Rescue Squad, has nothing to do with the paid entity. So just to make that perfectly clear, so it's on the record, everybody understands it, that the taxpayers' money that is being given to the town Belvedere Rescue Squad is not going to be used for the non-for-profit or paid entity.
No, it's part of our budget, and that our budget virtually equals our expenses within 5 or 10%.
Correct. And you also alluded to the fact that any money that's going to be loaned to the new entity will most likely come from funds that you have saved by a major bequest fund back 10, 15 years ago. That's where most of that money is, right? And you're going to use that money to assist with the new squad moving forward. You are still going to be looking for a donation from the town of Belvedere to continue to come in to the volunteer Belvedere Rescue Squad, correct?
Yes.
Which is going to help continue run that entity, not the paid entity, correct?
Correct. It's
Am I-
67%.
Am I correct on all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
What was
And
that percentage again? Sorry.
We'll still be approximately 67% volunteer.
correct. And you will be entering into a contract with the new paid service by giving them a loan of funds, which they will be returning based on a contract that you have drawn up,
Exactly.
correct?
Tomorrow night, that'll be taken care of.
I'm sorry?
The contract will be signed tomorrow night.
Yeah, okay. Other than that, I'm actually pretty pleased. Does anybody else have any other, we will do our due diligence to discuss your need for the lack of funds missed in 2018 within the next month or so during the budget process. I know I am originally said that I'm not in favor of taking something from last year and moving it forward to 19, but clearly understanding what the concerns are and the fact that you came here and you explained it as clearly as possible, I just might change my opinion of that. You know, everybody will make their own opinion, but that's something that we'll be discussing later on this agenda tonight when we go over goals and objections for 2019 and our donation protocol.
Just one thing, and maybe I missed it. The fact that now there's going to be two different entities there, will the operating costs on the volunteer side go down at all by having this other entity?
We're still working with those numbers because within the contract, that's whether we supply them with the day-to-day supplies, bandages, things of that nature, then it really won't affect our operating costs. Again, we have to, running the numbers and the things that we looked at, we have to keep their costs as low as we can to get them off the ground. Because these payments, when you start up a billing cycle, it takes sometimes 6 or 8 months for a reasonable cash flow to start. And you know, with a payroll for 2 people, 12 hours a day, it's got to be met every week. The other expenses that pop up, we have to be very careful about how much money we take from them. So we will probably wind up supporting them at least for the first year until that billing cycle comes up to speed.
Right, and then down the road, perhaps, like I said, the operating cost for the volunteer side could
Optimally, this is in a fairy tale land somewhere, they would be successful enough where they could fund the volunteer side completely.
Okay.
And none of this would be necessary.
Right, okay.
You know, that's a long shot and that's a dream, but that would be the ultimate goal if it could come around.
You're looking at least 18 months, I think, before you break water on that.
I have a question. How about the billing for fuel? How would that work out?
The town pays for our fuel. If we need to readdress that, we can readdress that. The only difficulty I can see is the ambulances do cross over, so I'm not exactly sure how we would track it. That being said, the ambulances running on the paid side will also be used on the volunteer side. So I wouldn't know how to balance that.
And you mentioned
legally. I didn't realize it. So when you re-license or rebadge the 2 that the paid will be using, you're still legally allowed to continue using those for volunteer calls?
You could use them with 2 certified EMTs, can run a state certified ambulance as volunteers.
Also, that fuel in the truck, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
2 EMTs,
Yeah,
it can't just be anybody.
Right, you have to have 2 EMTs in that truck.
In the state, there's authorized.
In the state of New Jersey, yeah, for the licensed truck.
And did you say before you were going to retitle the sides of the ambulances that are going to be used by the paid
The
squad?
state requires that if you're a paid entity, the name of the entity must appear on the vehicle.
So you're going to see Belvedere Ambulance Corps trucks, you're going to see Belvedere EMS trucks.
Okay, but you can mix and match them is what you're
Yes,
saying?
as long as there's 2 EMTs, we can take the paid truck and bill if we have to. Take the paid truck, bill, and it's not costing anybody anything.
Just a crazy thought, too. I mean, has it ever happened where everyone, people in situations might refrain from requesting a service based on the time frame that's paid or volunteer?
People refrain from services for all kinds of unusual reasons. They will get there and they will flat out decline paramedic services because they don't want to be billed for it when they clearly need one. But if they say no and they're of a sound mind, we can't dishonor their request. And we get the same thing on the ambulance. You know, kind of in a reverse thing, we'll get a lot of calls for we'll show up and say, well, my back was hurting yesterday morning, I thought I should have it checked. So, we take them to the hospital even though today there's nothing wrong. Though we do get all kinds of unusual requests and things you wouldn't think you would see. An emergency, not really. But it does work both ways.
are you going to be prepared to run out a newsletter to the public just explaining the transition from the 12-hour paid service to just to kind of give them that information that's being asked that, don't be surprised, in June,
part of the premature thing that we discussed
Okay.
earlier. You know, once everything is cast in stone, we have that signed and sealed the license, then we will do some advertising. We'll take out ads, we may do a mailing,
Yeah.
maybe even a press conference or a peer council, invite the public or something. Again, that is part of our thoughts. We need to educate the public.
And just last thing that, and Adam, I didn't prepare you for this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I know in the past that, former DPW worker Gerald Mesker used to drive, the rigs for you guys quite often. Please utilize the DPW if you need a driver, whether it's the volunteered service or whatnot. Please,
We appreciate that.
please
We
consider
appreciate
completely using them if you're gonna need two EMTs on the rig. Sometimes it may be better off to have them both in the back than one up front and one in the back.
And we appreciate that. You appreciate them, you know, releasing them to help us. There are some others, the police can do the same thing if necessary and available. They are allowed to drive our equipment.
If we're gonna do that, and I have no problem with that, it probably would behoove both the town and you to do a mutual aid agreement so that our workers' comp policies and everything carry through to our employee if they're on the rig and somebody gets in a car accident or something. So, I think that'd be an excellent idea, to do a mutual aid agreement. I don't know if you have, whatever council's helping me out with this stuff, but I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be simple down and dirty, but it would be good protection for both of us, just to make sure there's our insurance company doesn't decline, yours declines, and here we have an employee injured, you know what I mean?
All right, she's the president, that's her perfect. I just got
Contact? I didn't hear the second part because I was right before
Oh,
you
me?
went down.
You want to just get my number, Sue?
Go ahead.
Work number 908-735-8100. Yeah, and I'll work with you. I have some form mutual aid agreements. And Sharon's here. Sharon Cooper is our risk manager. Sharon, I think that'd be right. That'd be a good idea, make sure we have coverage. So I'll work with you and we'll get that to Sharon, get it approved, and then that'd be fine.
Also, Tyler,
I'll make a
you and
note.
Sharon should talk for a few minutes about your workers' comp costs. Possibly should get up here and give some insights.
We pay their workers' comp.
Not
the pay.
The new entity, well, they'll have to buy their own, and it's, it could be quite costly, as I recall. So, you two can talk about it and get the way out.
Okay, if no one's got nothing else, thank you so very much. I greatly
Thank you very much.
cleaning this up for us, thank you. Okay, next item matters to address. This is Mr. Roth, goals and objectives for 2019. There's a brief conversation you wanted to have on that tonight.
I don't know how brief it can be. I think, you know, every 2 weeks or so, we get together and handle the mundane business of running in town, which we have to do. And I think going into a new year, we should step back and say, what are the big issues we'd like to see accomplished this year, and begin to come out with measured steps for us to achieve those things. And I just think that's a healthy discussion I think council should have. And, you know, there's 2 or 3 or 4 big elephants that we have to address. And anybody can just spout them out about, oh, we got to lower taxes, or we got to get more people in town. But we need to sit down and talk about, how do you do that? You know, we can all eat those elements, but we got to do it one bite at a time. We just got to figure out how we're going to approach cutting them up.
Can I throw out 2 things?
You certainly can.
I think at some point this year, if you get, I would really love to see you guys explore codifying the code book.
It's already done. I don't know how many times I could.
Yes.
It's
We did.
done.
We did.
It's all done. All we have to do the ordinance this year, which is a big undertaking, don't get me wrong,
Right.
doing the ordinance part of it.
Yeah, we did that.
But it's done.
Yeah, we,
The other thing I was going to throw out there is a possibility, because at some point you're going to get an order from the county tax board, so you might want to consider, and you can bond for this and take it outside your regular budget, but, or read that. I know I'll talk with the mayor a little bit about that. And I think that's actually probably at this point, starting to adversely, really be actually beneficial to your taxpayers at this point, to kind of get them equalized with the county. It's the only 2 things I have. Sorry, Teresa.
That's okay. I know we kept like sneaking in there and I'm like, somebody's not.
Let me go around real quick for Mr. Roth. Adam, do you have anything?
now in years to years.
I'd just like you to keep open-minded, to not isolate yourself just from shared court, because there's other shared services out there.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
That's,
gonna fall into the same run, although I just named the courts. Please
then I
understand.
probably should have said it that way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
Councilman Myers.
Continue to explore different sources of revenue other than our taxpayers' pockets in order to keep our town a little more solvent. That would include grants and
Right.
whatever.
Councilman Tuttle.
Keep looking into the bills.
What's that?
Keep looking at bills. See where there might be some areas where, you know, could be some improvements.
I apologize.
That's okay.
The first meeting that I came to, all right, we were talking about something, and you made a comment about there's another for sale sign up. And what are we going to do about that? And by the way, that was a very telling comment, and I appreciate that. But, so what are we going to do about that? And I mean, that's really, really my issue. The whole quality of life stuff that we bring up from time to time just kind of gets lost in the stratosphere. We had a person talk about cars parked the wrong way. We talk about how many absentee landlords are there, and the homes are going in some degree of disrepair. I think all of those things under a heading of quality of life, figuring it out as one elephant. And then talk about what is the second elephant. Is it taxes, or is it bringing new companies into the town, and how we're dealing with that? Those sort of things. No offense, but not just looking at the bills all the time. I think most of that's taken care of.
Joe, I'll throw out two more things if I could. Again, I'm not trying to drive your agenda, but just things that come to my mind that you might want to
Feel
consider.
free.
And I did speak briefly to the mayor. We have talked a little bit about it before. I thought you guys did an incredible job in pursuing the redevelopment zoning and the redevelopment ordinance that's put in place. And one thing I would really like to see, if it's possible, is pursuing a pilot program for that, because you talk about tax revenues. A pilot program would allow us to keep a lot more of the taxes for that project in the town that we would not have to share with the county and schools and the library. And it would also result in more favorable tax structures for the people buying these. So, if you want to throw that on, I've actually talked to a couple of consultants about that. And the other thing, to be honest with you, and it kind of came up when we got to the end of the year with the property with the flood zone, with being torn down and so forth, that FEMA property. And it just came across again, because I'm mostly with this council, I don't really deal with your land use ordinances, except unless something really directly comes up. But one thing that kind of surprised me, and I have been talking to your land use board attorney, Steve Grunberg, because we're talking about doing some tweaks to the recreational vehicle ordinance, if you remember, that's on the agenda for this year. But one thing, if he's correct, and Teresa, he says that there's not a single area left in this town where two-family is a permitted use. And I only throw that out to you as something, again, that's kind of a dual land use board in this council thing, but when you talk about, how to help people in the town, I think if Nick Weinstock, if he was able to market that as a two-family, I think he would have had a heck of a lot better chance to sell that privately, such that property would not be torn down, and would still stand the tax rolls. I don't know where you would want to consider two-family zoning in the town, but it's a beautiful town, always has been, and two families are really indistinguishable oftentimes from a single family. And, from an investor standpoint, I know he had some people that were looking at that place, but as soon as they found out it would be a variance to convert it, he lost those people. So again, that's something I think where you could definitely make an impact on keeping good activity. Throw it out there for you guys.
Okay, the only item that I have is I want to be pretty aggressive with completing the ordinance for the bed and breakfast again, I take full responsibility for the way it was handled in the past. So, and I did speak to Mr. Roth briefly about how the protocol should be handled, in my opinion, to help these special services. And whatever this protocol is that we put together, it's going to be for any entity that we give a donation to. So what happens is it doesn't get screwed up the way it did this year with you guys taking the blunt of it and somebody else got theirs earlier. So again, I can only apologize and take the responsibility for that. Joe, do you want to go over the protocol that we discussed and my recommendations, or, I mean, I can throw it out there briefly. I think during the budget process, we ought to come up with a dollar amount that we're going to contribute to these entities. I think once that's normally done by the first quarter of the year. My opinion is, again, it's only my opinion, my suggestion is, Joe alluded to it a little bit earlier, we can break it apart. We can give 50% during the first quarter, we can give 25% during the second or third quarter, and then the final 25% would be given at the end of the year. That's something that I came up with. If anybody else has any other suggestions on top of that. As far as the amount of donation that'll go to the rescue squad or the fire department, as we said earlier, will be discussed during the budget time. So your liaisons will keep you apprised on when that budget discussion is going to be, if you want to be here to discuss your dollar amount of your donation. But I think in fairness to our special services, whether it's the squad, police, or fire, we will do our best to get 50% out during the first quarter, at least to get them started, and then by the second quarter, third quarter, get them another 25%. And that allows us during the last quarter to see equally amongst everybody where we are financially and ability here. And I didn't actually call it I just think it's something that we ought to consider how we want to distribute it. Anybody else have, Kathy?
I will check with John Meek, and I know they have certain protocol, I think we do need to follow for donations. So I'll check with him and with Christine. I'll have some information by the next meeting.
Okay, temporary budget is 25%.
You're not gonna get anything out quarterly,
Yeah.
or the first quarter, I'm sorry, because you haven't adopted your budget.
Right.
So nobody's gonna ever get anything the first quarter. You're
At
gonna
least
be
not,
paying second, third,
at least
fourth
not
quarter.
more than 25%, because I think
Right,
your line item,
it's 26.25,
yeah,
it's
so
temporary.
you might be able to do 25% first quarter.
So 25, 50, and then
But if you don't know what that number is, then
Well-
you can't give 25% of the number you don't know.
Your temporary budget adoption is
Well, but the percentage-
25% of the last year's number.
The last year's number.
But see, the only thing I don't know, Teresa, this is why, as I said to Charlie, I don't know if because you completely canceled it, whether there's any 25% to roll over.
Oh, yeah, I don't think there is.
So it might be zero, so we can't do it definitely.
But there's still a line item. So, if whatever number they decide to put in there, then I would say it would be paid the
After
second,
adoption.
if you want to pay 50% the second quarter, and then
Right.
25 and 25 the third.
The budget generally, Joe, has
Would
to
be
be
more,
adopted by April 1.
more
Yes.
doable.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
right, but we have to submit it by March.
yeah, so anytime after April 1, we'll be able to start.
So then my question would be, if we have this protocol, these entities can be ensured that they are definitely getting their monies. My question prior to this was, gee, we budgeted for this. The answer to me was, budgeting doesn't mean they're getting it. So this will ensure that they get it.
Now,
No.
they
Now,
probably-
Budget
it
is a
doesn't.
plan.
Okay,
Just like
that's
any
my
other
question
budget.
then. It
No,
still
it's
doesn't
our-
ensure.
That's our
So
intention
you're,
when we
so
adopt
you
the
know
budget.
this.
Well, before we get, let's not confuse this. The whole purpose of this is we didn't have the money as of the end of December because we had some serious
Correct.
overages that had to be taken care of.
We don't
Right.
anticipate heavy hits.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm trying to avoid is that at least every entity gets something all along. There is going to be a holdback in December.
So, yeah,
So it's not
so they
100%
shouldn't-
insurance on it.
So they didn't
Correct.
lose 30,000, they lost 10,000. and
Okay,
they
that-
lost
that's-
10,000.
So
what
what you're saying,
we don't want,
instead of a voucher sitting there, a June voucher for 30, what we'll advise each entity to submit a voucher for one half of their budget allocation. That'll be taken care of, so at least half is out there.
Yes.
And then you can break it up quarterly, whatever you guys want. That's what you're saying, and that makes sense. That's the way most municipalities do it.
And if in December we had a
Right.
big problem that we had to deal with,
It can split.
then everybody gets screwed equally.
Just one.
Right? So there's one entity that is going
Okay.
to be disadvantaged, as happened now. but that's
Thank you.
unfortunate.
Well, but
The
we also
question
have,
then would be this, when you talk about special services, are you going to define exactly who they are at the beginning of the year? And then if we have somebody that happens to pop up in the middle of June and says, I need a $5,000 donation, how do you distribute that amongst the rest of the year? And I don't know if it's necessarily fair to the ambulance.
Well, you
corps
couldn't
and
do
the
it
fire
anyway, Charlie, because it's not part of your budget. It's not a line item
Unless
in
you
your
get a special
budget.
line item.
Right.
There's a line item in our budget for,
I understand.
right, so you couldn't do that. We can't donate money to, project restoration or things like that. You just don't. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, we could put it in the budget.
Let me ask the squad a question here. So, when, Tyler, would it help, and I don't even know if this can be done, but let's say they have an expense that comes up, and we're talking about numbers, and they have a $5,000 bill. Can we do a voucher system with them where they give us a bill for something that needs to be, similar like the fire department, we do turnout gear, correct? They give us a voucher for turnout gear, okay? Can they give us a voucher for,
It's still got to be allocated to the one.
no, I understand that, but,
I mean, the only thing the only discretionary fund that I'm aware of you have right now that's probably really there would be anything left over from the library.
Well, yeah, and I think you're gonna see it's coming down the line through legislation that whether it's the fire company or the volunteer ambulance corps, they're going to have to give us an expenditure report at the end of the year, exactly what that $30,000 per item was spent on. Not our requirement, that's gonna be a requirement of the state of New
Yeah, I
Jersey.
mean, there is a form required now, but it's pretty broad in general, but you might be right. You might tighten it up a little bit, but, you know, that's.
Part of, that's actually already part of the,
I mean, if you're looking for a way to partially fund them.
it's a part of the best
yeah,
practices.
yeah. Kathy, you can ask the CFO that question, to see if a voucher is allowable. So for instance, if they gave us a voucher at the end of this month or beginning of February, a voucher for needed items or supplies, can we do that?
Over and above what would be budgeted.
Well,
Why
we'll
would we
discuss
budget
it.
stage? Before we
That'll
adopt
be
it.
discussed.
Okay, prior to budget.
But I'm just
Okay.
thinking about, because they did not. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I got it. I'll
So-
see you on Wednesday.
Does that make sense to you, or are you just
Is
thinking?
that in
Are
recoup
you,
of
are
the
you,
30 or
are you
from
thinking,
now
are
on?
you just thinking, give me the money and let us worry about it?
No, I'm confused in the respect, is that for future, or is that to make up for the
We
30,000
haven't, no, we
now?
have not, we haven't got to that part yet. We haven't discussed whether we're giving you only 30 for to be blunt. We haven't discussed if we're just giving you 30,000 for 2019 and say, see you later on to 2018. I'm sure there's going to be some very intense conversation here as to the money that we're going to budget for 2019 and what would like to be budgeted to give you rollback from 2018.
We're just trying to figure out the vehicles in which we are allowed to do it.
Am I correct, Council?
I get, but I don't
Think that-
understand what he's talking
No,
about with the
well,
voucher. For
well,
like,
here's-
is that in
I'm
addition
looking,
to, or for that 30,000?
I'm just looking for a way to
We don't know.
expedite funds quicker to you than waiting until the second quarter.
What we're talking about is our municipal budget isn't officially adopted until April 1st by statute. Actually, sometimes it's extended a little bit to April 15th. And so what we're bandying about here, we're going to need some input from the CFO, is there a funding mechanism prior to budget adoption where we can kind of,
Okay.
that's all.
Okay, I understand it now.
Yeah. So if
Okay.
in other words, could you give us some fuel, stuff we can help you with? Is there a way to do that while we still just have what's called a temporary budget.
Okay.
We're gonna get the answer to that.
Okay.
Kathy, you want to give a quick overview of the 2019 budget matters and process?
We did, ask other department heads to produce a budget summary at the end of 2018, identifying more of the line items, the way they submitted the budget. And I'd like to have a line item budget developed by department heads as our process goes forward. I think it better defines what the areas are where we possibly were overexpended. Was it because the price changes, just as by way of an example, I think the insurance rates changed mid-year. Or do we get a different billing? Like not, but the rates that you're charged. Now, because sometimes that we're off by 10%, that's what I'm.
No, her number, the liability, she just gave us at the last meeting.
Right.
I know what that is. The healthcare changes in here.
Okay, so that there's a rate change
That
that
rate
doesn't,
changes in June.
that doesn't come to us in the beginning of the year, but we need to be able to plan better for that.
That's not, yeah, that's
Not
from the
part of
state.
it, right, but we still get hit with it every year. So we need to know, for instance, that in January, we're not gonna know what the bump up is gonna be in June, and we're still gonna have to pay it. So those kinds of things I'd like to be looking toward, take the surprises out of it. So that would be my initiative for this year.
I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Second.
Questions, comments, or concerns?
Yeah, I might as well bring it up, since I brought up the comment about looking at bills, what my concerns are. Again, I haven't had a chance to go and question because the bills weren't ready till today. But the first one was, looking at it, was the $1,000 for the electric for the trailer. Now that I did get a chance to go over and talk to DPW. From what I understand, the trailer is an electric trailer. The heat will be provided electrically, so will the AC. Did we budget for approximately what that'll use this year? You don't have to give me an answer. I'll get back to you as I track it. That's one thing I'll be looking at. $725, $350 to two individuals to help leaf cleanup. I don't know, I kind of thought we had, DPW to take care of that. Maybe they needed help. Let's see.
You answered your own question there. They needed help.
And then, we had a couple of trees planted, $858. What was interesting, one was at 320 Mansfield, that was in the strip. The one at 623rd Street, the only place I could find when I was planting was inside the yard. Let's see, and the last two items I have a question with is Animal Health Center, board, $756. June 24th, July 5th, August 9th, July 25th, September 21st, September 29th. When I looked at the billing, I noticed that there was, and this is I take it was supposed to be for the animal control person, takes care of it. There was one bill in there where a resident of Belvedere actually carried the cat over there and we were being charged for it. So that's what I'm really interested in, because can anybody just take it and bill the cat? No, okay. All right, well, that's one you might want to take a look at. And then the last is 500 luminaires for $416. See, I go with the opinion that as a councilman, I'd rather see the money stay in the residents' pockets. Let them decide, be it fireworks, be it luminaries, be it $1,500 for a trackless train, over $6,000 for 2 artificial trees, whatever it is, $5,000, $6,000 for scooties for the parking lot. You see, if you leave the money in the people's pockets, let them make the decision. That's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right.
Would
Do
we
you want a
like
roll
to-
call on that?
No,
Yeah, roll call on those.
you're not gonna let me?
No.
Okay.
Actually,
Roll call
Councilman McAtoy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Myers.
Yes.
Councilwoman Napolitano.
Yes.
Councilman Roth.
Yes.
Councilman Tucker.
Abstain.
Councilman Smigrowski.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
There was one, Joe, and I think you asked me about it at the end of the year. If you recall, we had the average, question came up, I think it was for guys at the shelter or something for seasonal snowplow help or something like that. And you had suggested, I just want to throw it out to council whether you'd like me to draft a short memorandum. You had thought it'd be a good idea to at least have that advertised on websites. for
Yes,
any
what I
seasonal
suggested was
part-time
that
help.
anything between the department head threshold of $3,500 and the required threshold to get bids for large projects,
$40,000.
$40,000. So anything between there, that range, we at least publicize on the website and in one of our papers. Just say, we have this job. and
Well, that's,
if you're
okay,
interested
so
in
that's
this
for public contracts that would.
That's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
Well, I thought you were talking about employee hires too. You wanted to have this posted or something?
No, I didn't say it.
Okay.
Yeah, this was one of when we let a contract out. So
I thought because we had the gentleman that signed up and didn't know the job was open or something, and he said, oh, we should advertise.
Oh, I didn't bring that up, but we did that in general.
Yeah.
But you were gonna write something up on what I did.
Okay,
I'll wait for that.
I'll circulate that for you guys.
And that's just the issue of transparency. It came up several times, let's just do it, have it out there, and if somebody else wants to put their name in to do a job.
I'll circulate something for you guys.
Okay. All right, before we go on to public comments, now I'm going to talk about mayor's matters, since you're not going to let me on the cat situation.
We'll let you know if you
We've
have
had the luxury,
for it.
we've had the luxury in the town of Belvedere to have a resident assist with our animal control officer with the feral cat situation that we are subject to over in a couple of back alleys and whatnot. So I'd like to thank that individual, who I'll keep anonymous, for assisting. And the fund is $756, Teresa will verify, and others. That money comes from a separate individual account that's covered by dog licenses, cat license fees, and whatnot that's brought in. So it's not taxpayers' money whatsoever paid to handle that situation. And I can go on with other items, but I won't do that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Mr. Smigrowski.
Please do go
I'd like
on.
you to please go ahead.
Just a couple.
No, that wouldn't be appropriate.
The two trees?
The two trees?
Yeah, one on the person's property and the other.
Yeah.
It was approved by this council by a vote as to where that tree would be planted. The individual asked, because it was a concern of his, that the tree could not go in the planting strip, was going into his property, and was approved by this council.
And actually,
Am I correct?
there was actually two trees in two different residential areas because the residents were kind enough to take responsibility and ownership for those trees rather than putting them into a gas strip and disturbing gas lines and whatnot and even curbs. But again, I won't continue to go on with a lot of items. The only thing I do want to address, and I do have a concern for Councilman Tuckett, just to make sure that he's aware of this fact. After going through minutes on many items, but I'm just going to use 2018 to be very specific. We have had in the year 2015, Councilman Tuckett abstained over 2018 over 44 times, in which he abstained to every bill list in 2018. You can abstain to items on a bill list, but to abstain when you're representing the people of the town of Belvedere, and I understand people may have objections, and I have no objections, as he clearly stated tonight, with the didn't have the knowledge of where funds come for to take care of cats, or discussions with, shade tree commissioner on a shade tree or a chair for a shade tree. You can't find that information out by going to a meeting. Pretty much surprises me a little bit. And it also disturbs me that we're going to start off a brand new year humiliating this council and questioning council on items that we're really responsible to know. So I just like to know if we're going to abstain to every bill list, because if that's the case, you're not serving the people. So with that, I'll entertain public comment. Good evening, Linda.
She's skinny, but not quite that spread out.
And I'll ask for public comment. Let's do our best not to repeat the discussions, questions, and answers we've had tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sitting here this evening and hearing the squad with their presentation was things that should have been known by everybody already. Everybody is pretty seasoned sitting on council. I think going forward, there's a protocol for a contribution to special services. I don't know why this was a problem this year. Never in history that I know of was a problem before. I think that you need to look at things more objectively, factual, and even the groups that are nonprofits that come, and I give them credit for their hard work and their services, that are nonprofit that come before and may not want just monetary contribution, because sometimes you cannot do that legally, but work contributions. I've seen plenty of times where this council and certain members have said, "What do you need? We want to help you." That didn't seem to be the case for the squad this year, unfortunately. And I'll end with, I've had to use the squad, not personally, but for members of my family. Relatives have used it. And I can tell you, members that sit right there tonight were on the calls. And I cannot thank the Belvedere Squad, the Belvedere Fire Company, which I thought we'd never have to use, but due to a tractor fire this year, we did need them this past year. So I want to thank the Belvedere Ambulance Corps and the fire company. And I want to end with, hopefully this will never happen again, being treated differently. Hopefully whatever group comes before you will be put under the same scrutiny. Thank you. Happy
Thank
New
you for
Year.
your comment. Any other public comment? Yes, Mayor.
First of all, I want to apologize for going out of order. And that was simply
Okay.
because, for exactly the reason that I did the prayer tonight, because what I hope for the council and for the town is that we can set aside some bitterness and that we can not seem, you may be internally wanting to get somebody or whatever, but not to be vindictive in public or in our processes. And the second piece, and this is, I didn't know you guys were going to be here tonight. Yesterday in my worship service, I had a gentleman stand up to sing a hymn and pass out. And it was the day when I was baptizing my granddaughter. And so I was already emotional and stuff like that. And the squad came in and did their thing. My congregation moved forward and got it out of their way. And no one from the fifth row back to the front of the church knew that there was an ambulance outside of our church or that someone had been taken from there into the hospital. And so I was just going to say to you to please commend your ambulance squad for what they did for my congregation yesterday and for my family, because my family had no clue that anything was going on except for the baptism of their child. And so I appreciate all that you guys do. I really do. And I appreciate the fact that none of us have, not very many of us have very calm tempers, obviously. And I appreciate what you do and what you struggle to do for this town. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay, I will just make, no, I won't even make. I will make it. You're okay. I tend to think I'm passionate when I get loud. I don't have a temper. I'm very passionate about what I
Okay, Joe, we're really
With
passionate.
that, I'll just entertain a motion to enter an executive session.
I make a motion that the passion in the eye of the beholder.
Thank you guys very much.
Motion going to executive session.
Yes. All in favor? Aye. Motion to come back into regular session?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We had a brief discussion of threatened litigation, and the council gave, we got a letter from the attorney, council gave me directions how to respond to that, and I will do so by letter, and I'll let you guys know what's going on. And that was all that was discussed in executive.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion.